Hi, and welcome to another episode of Be a Better Landlord. My name is Harrison, and I'm here to talk about one of the most important parts about being a landlord. What are the best ways to collect rent for your rental property? One of the first ways, and honestly oldest ways of collecting rent, is cash or check. There's something nice about getting cash handed to you, a check handed to you, you know you physically have it, but that's also one of the disadvantages. If you have to go drive somewhere to go pick up your rent every month from your tenant, that's time that you are spending managing your property when you could be doing something else. Also, it's even worse if the rent is late and you show up and it's not there. I know people that have been driving 45 minutes each way every month to collect their rent, and they're telling me, wow, managing a property is so difficult. It's so time consuming. Yeah, they're spending an hour and a half every month going to just collect rent. And some of the ways that we'll talk about next are automatic and easier for tenants because most tenants these days don't want to write a check, don't want to send out cash in the mail or hand over cash. We've made it so much easier with technology to make paying rent simple and automatic. The next way, which has become really popular over the past decade or so, is Zelle, Venmo, these online apps that allow you to transfer money digitally. A lot of tenants have been using it for other methods with their friends. They're splitting checks at a restaurant, or they're sending money for favors to their friends for different things. So they're used to it. So the barrier of entry is really easy, but that is not actually what these platforms were made for. They're for sending money between friends. They do have a business aspect to it, but they add a fee to it. And I definitely hear a lot of landlords that are saying, well, I'll just say it's personal and call it a day, but that is a risk for your business that you need to decide, is that worth it for you? A lot of them also have limits. I've accepted Zelle with a tenant before as a landlord, and that $2,000 limit for them was inconvenient because they would always pay, it was a good tenant, they'd always pay that $2,000 portion on the day the rent was due, but then the rest of the rent would trickle in. And I didn't want to keep asking myself, was the rest of the rent paid? One month they did forget a little bit of it, and I had to follow up after 10 days, and they sent it immediately. But that's just one more thing that I had to keep in mind and monitor that isn't ideal if you're trying to scale your rental business or just trying to make this more passive for you. So there are some risks. It's certainly convenient, but it's not meant for collecting rent, and those limits can become a burden, especially as you have more tenants to manage. Another way to collect rent is direct deposit. Now, we don't talk about this a lot with TurboTenant, but I've actually had multiple tenants use direct deposit before. There are a lot of nice things about it. You can transfer a really large sum in one single payment. It's instant, but it requires a unique situation. I had one tenant that worked for a bank, so she had access to the ability to do direct deposit and instant transfer through my bank. And then another one, they also had a business account that they were able to access this type of technology. In those situations, there aren't fees for them. In other situations, there would be if it's a personal account. But there are no alerts. There's no tracking. There's no feedback on what this transaction was for. And what I found myself doing every month was checking the first day that rent is typically due. Is it in there? Then checking the next day. Did it come in? And it started to get a little stressful if sometimes they were getting close to that late fee situation and my mortgage is coming due in another day or two. And while there was a lot of convenience, it did cause a little bit of anxiety for me each time. And when they paid on time, it was great. When they paid a day late, it just added one more thing to monitor that as you scale your rental business, even if it's 1, 2, 3 properties, it's one more thing to think about. And with collecting rent, it should be automatic. It should be easy. It shouldn't be something that you have to stress about. The last option, which has become really popular over the last few years, is using software that is made for rent collection. This is something that I kind of attribute to shoes. Like there are different tools to use, and there are different shoes for different types of things. You have running shoes, you have hiking shoes, and rent collection software is made for collecting rent. And it has a lot of great things for it. It's meant for larger payment transfers. In a lot of instances, you can have a tenant pay with a credit card, a debit card, and you're getting the transfer sent to you directly to your bank. Also, a lot of these softwares have automatic late fees. And we didn't talk about that for all of the other options because there is no process. You'd have to make it up on your own, and you'd have to have those awkward conversations about charging a late fee, how often you do it, when you do it, and you have to be the bad guy. You are a business and you should act like a business. So if your tenant is late, you should hold them accountable. The software does it automatically for you. And software like TurboTenant makes it really easy to set those thresholds and those timelines. And the tenant knows that the software is going to do it. So there's a lot more accountability held there. Also, a lot of these softwares, like TurboTenant, has an app that functions in a really similar fashion as a Zelle or Venmo or other apps that your tenants are used to. So there's a comfort level that feels just like what they want to do in a way that you want to do. And what's most important is you're collecting rent in a way that comes in on time, but a way that works for your business. So this is definitely an area of opportunity for a lot of landlords to consider because it's built for their business so they can be successful. And so there's a lot of options when you want to collect rent. The most important part, more than anything, is you are collecting rent and you're holding your tenant accountable. And you're also working in a way that is convenient for everybody. It makes it so easy to send a digital payment, whether it's credit card, debit card, or a bank transfer. I don't have to worry about asking for late fees because the software does it for me automatically. And it also functions in a way that a tenant is comfortable. They can send money through an app or through a website, and it's just automatic and easy for them. And easy is always best when it comes to collecting rent. Stop spending time driving to your rental properties. Stop waiting for checks in the mail, and stop taking risks on how you're collecting rent, and make sure that you're successful today. And if you decide to scale your business, it gets easier and easier as you add more properties and tenants. So if you're interested in learning more about how to collect rent with TurboTenant, go to turbotenant.com today.